Welcome to the Path Podcast. It's February 8th. My name is Tani. I'm here with Auk. What's up, Auk?
Hey, Tani. It's good to be here as always.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, same. It's good to see myself.
Good to be seen.
So I have a little bit of a correction.
Okay.
So I think in our last podcast we were talking about do push bikes build like more mental toughness than e-bikes? And we talked about the different types of mental toughness, focus on the downhill and what have you. I'm pretty sure that push bikes do build more mental toughness. So overall,
definitely they build a type of mental toughness that can't be replicated on an e-bike, or will not likely be replicated on an e-bike.
Yes, I went on a decently long push bike ride this past weekend, and yeah, it was, I don't know, a little over 20 miles and 21 or 2,200 feet of climbing. So not huge, but it was decently long, and yeah, slogging up some of the climbs. I was like, yeah, this is definitely a different type of mental toughness that you won't replicate on the e-bike.
I've never had my body try to tell me that I was going as hard as I could and then gone harder on the e-bike.
Right.
And I've never had my body try to tell me that I need to quit or that it's quitting. Right. And then forced it to not quit on the e-bike.
Right.
So these are kind of some examples, I think, of maybe what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I've never pushed myself past a point that felt like I couldn't push myself past.
Right.
On an e-bike.
The other phenomenon that I felt going on was looking across the way at a climb that you have yet to do, and just thinking, that's a long way.
Yeah, feeling the kind of the weight of what's ahead.
Yes. And riding the e-bikes, I don't think I ever feel that.
No.
And then conquering that, right?
Right.
And what I realized was if you don't do that frequently, the dread actually grows.
You think?
I do. At least that was my experience this past weekend.
I would like to see the graph on that, because I think it probably grows for a while and then levels off and then maybe even wanes. Like you almost forget how bad it is after a while. Right. Or you just fall into lapse into a state of I could never do that again.
Right.
One or the other.
That's actually where I kind of saw myself this weekend. I was like, whoa, that's weird. I never looked across at that particular climb thinking that's a long ways away and that's a big climb.
Yeah.
So anyways, a little bit of a correction.
That's exactly the kind of things I was thinking when I brought it up at the last show.
Yeah.
I still think our counterpoint stands that there's a lot of different kinds of mental strength.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna try and work in the push bike rides.
When I find I really appreciate the push bike rides is when I need to work out some anger or grief.
Right.
Especially anger or frustration, or just reset after a hard day.
Yeah.
I feel like that's when I benefit from. I really have found, and it's almost like there's a part of me that already feels that way of like, this is too much, I can't take it. And then I put my body in that state and everything resets and goes back to okay.
Right. You work through that.
Yeah.
I was going to say the exact opposite. Maybe not the exact opposite. I would say that for me, the hard push bike ride helps to work out grief better.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I think it's yes and.
It's yes and.
Grief versus anger.
Yeah. Grief versus anger.
But definitely those two.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
Opposed to like when I'm all in a good mood, I don't feel as much need to hurt.
Right, exactly.
It's just like wanting to hurt. It's almost like you want to hurt everywhere, like you hurt in some spots.
Right. There's a catharsis about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Which kind of, so my little bit of a commitment to push bike riding is also related to what is the hardest thing about starting to build functional strength in your mind?
Oh man, I don't know. This is not the kind of thing I give a ton of thought to.
Yeah.
But it is in the background. It's always there.
Right. Because at one time, like especially with your wrestling background, you had a ton of this, and you were honing that aspect of it. And not to say you don't continue to have functional strength, but that honing is not there. And if you were to go back,
totally
to do that,
not. I mean, I still try to do pull-ups and push-ups and plank.
Yeah.
And I have like a yoga ball.
Right.
That I do a few exercises that were given to me by my PT, physical therapist.
Right.
I guess the biggest obstacle is just keeping a habit of doing it.
Yeah.
I think forming the habit and keeping it a habit.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's in the past 10 days or so, I've been working on functional strength.
Yeah.
I was noticing things like I might have mentioned it, like lifting the e-bike onto the bike rack. You know.
Yeah.
Everything about that is functional strength, whether it be arms, core, or whatever. And the hardest part is just getting started again.
Yeah, and even that sometimes it's just having your body give you some kind of resistance, and then that doing the second grunt.
Right.
like
exactly. Because at a certain age, over 50 now, man, getting started, the first week or so, everything just hurts in unnatural ways.
Did I tell you the move I learned from Kim in the shop about how to play it off when you make those grunts?
No.
Okay, so Jeff from the shop heard me make what I call an old man noise
right
when I make it. And Jeff's a few years ahead of me, and he's like, man, you got to like keep an eye on those. You don't want to be growing how much you sound like that. So it had been on my mind. And then Kim like kneeled down to get in the safe, and she kind of made like a
right.
And I was like, I feel you, Kim. And Kim was like, yeah, went to the gym 3 times this week. Like,
That's I like that.
Right? So anytime you're like getting out of bed, you're like, went to the gym
3 times this week.
Super swole right now.
I know, exactly. You know, it's interesting too, because getting back into this routine, I can't push in ways that I know I should be. And like the muscle memory kind of is there, but knowing that it's the smoothness and like pushing and hurting in the right ways just isn't there, at least in the first week.
You tend to be really consistent. I think I have more experience than you do with getting out of shape and then trying to get back in shape.
Right.
For me, one of the things I've noticed is a lot of times the first attempt back at something like that for me often is actually not as hard as I think it's going to be, because I've built it up in my mind.
Right.
And I'm like, man, that was hard for me when I was in shape. How's it going to be now? And it's like, actually, it's not that much harder. It just takes 25% longer.
Right. Except maybe pull-ups. Those are actually as hard as I can imagine them to be.
Oh, man. I'm trying to get back into pull-ups. There was a time when I could do over 30 pull-ups in a row.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
In my early 20s.
Right.
For me right now, like 3's a lot.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's humiliating.
Exactly. That's where
it's almost so humbling that it's discouraging to do them.
So I try to figure out what weight exercise can I do to help build that, so that the next time I go to do them, I might be able to.
That, or you know what you do? You get the rubber bands that help you do them, and you do a lot of reps.
Right.
I have some if you want to borrow some.
I might actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who struggles with 3 pull-ups.
It's a lot.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly.
When you get to be a certain age.
Right.
I got a story from the shop this week that I found pretty awesome. So over the years, there's been a lot of different people who like to set it up so the left brake is the rear brake, right brake is the front brake.
Yep.
Everyone has their own name for it.
Right.
Moto style, Euro style.
Right.
In the shop, Sanjay and I got to joking around one time, and I like to keep this one going that it's scooter style.
Okay.
Because a motorcycle doesn't have, it's got a clutch on the left.
Right.
So, and the rear brake's on the foot. So it's not really moto style.
Right.
So scooter style often made sense for me. So the other day I'm helping this dude in the shop, young guy, seems like a ripping rider, new to the area, telling me he's from China.
All
Cool,
right.
welcome,
Sure.
stoked. And he's asking me questions about bikes, and he's like, "Hey, can you set these brakes up Chinese style?"
Oh no! What?
Yes, yes, I can. I can set those up scooter style for you.
Scooter style. Oh, man.
I thought that was awesome.
That is great.
Yeah,
Scooter style.
yeah.
I wonder if that's a geographic area thing.
I suspect that at least in his region of China, if not, I mean, they
Maybe.
run the left brake on the back.
Oh, that's interesting. Like in Europe.
Maybe it's everywhere but
Like all
America. Maybe it's everywhere that's not running proper inches and feet.
That's right. And playing a game called soccer.
Yeah.
Right? I mean. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
Left rear.
But yeah, I don't think I'll be calling it that. Like he can call it that.
He can
But
call it
it's
that.
great to know that there's all kinds of places who do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
would have
I thought
never
it was fun.
never pegged that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I got another good announcement.
All right.
So we want to promote people getting out there and doing trail work. We think it's fun, it's healthy, it helps build functional strength,
Yep.
helps you
that's
learn the
true.
trail. I really actually do think it makes you a better rider to look at the trail from that perspective.
Sure.
Gives back to the community. It's the right thing to do if you ride trails. So what we're doing is if you're at a trail work event anywhere in the country,
Mm-hmm.
you get a picture of yourself in any path gear.
Oh.
So it has to show some path gear in the picture.
Right.
It could be socks if I zoom in.
Right.
Tell us
Water
your-
bottle next
Tell
to
us
me.
your first name, the location where you did the trail work, and the sanctioning body that sanctioned it. It has to be sanctioned trail work.
Got it.
I'm not trying to talk bad about any other trail work,
Right.
but for this particular thing, it has to be sanctioned trail work. We'll send you a digital $25 gift card
Oh,
if we use it
nice.
on our social media. Probably even if we don't. As long as it
Wow.
has the path gear.
Oh my gosh.
So you could be local, you could be anywhere in the country. Go do some trail work, bring a path hat or a path t-shirt or some path socks or put a path sticker on your shirt, get a picture of yourself, send it to us, tell us that it's okay for us to put it on our social media.
Right.
Give us your first name. If you want to be tagged in it, send us your Instagram handle. And you can send those pictures to
Web sales at thepathbikeshop.com.
there you go.
Web sales at thepathbikeshop.com, just like it sounds.
And with that in mind, we'll talk about some upcoming trail work events that people can do locally
For sure.
if they want to, So the Laguna Canyon Foundation has 3 trail work events coming up, and you have to sign up for them ahead of time on their webpage.
Got it.
There's no last second showing up.
Right.
So Saturday, March 11th, they're doing Meadows at Aliso.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, March 19th, the Lizard Trail in Laguna. And Sunday, April 2nd, the Camarillo Trail in Laguna.
Yeah. Have you ridden Camarillo?
I don't think I have. What is that?
Let's see. If you
Not by
ride,
that name.
yeah, maybe not by that name. I don't even know what you would call it otherwise. But if you, at the bottom of Lizard, if you make a left and you keep on the main fire road and you go underneath the toll road and keep following that, you'll drop down and hang a right.
Okay.
Yeah, they rerouted it a couple years ago. I like what they did.
That used to be off the map, right?
It used to be off the map, right? I think, yeah, it used to be off the map.
I believe in my younger and less smart days, I got escorted off that trail by a Mr. Mayhort, maybe,
Is that right?
or a trail right around there. I
Yes.
didn't know. I was just riding my mountain bike.
Was I with you?
I don't know.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
He let us
Very
off with a
similar thing.
warning. Thank you, Mr. Mayhort.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Camarillo, that's a great loop to climb up Willow, drop down Lizard, make a left at the bottom, go under the toll road.
I'm gonna have to
over
check that
Camarillo.
out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
What's that trail like?
It's swoopy single track, nothing technical.
Kind of lizardsy, it sounds like almost.
Not quite as wide open.
Okay.
Not quite as high speed, narrower. Little more switchbacky.
Okay.
But no, a lot of fun.
Cool.
It's a beautiful, beautiful ride. Beautiful space to ride in. Yeah, and thanks to all the volunteers. I was out at San Diego Oaks riding the other day, and I think Foothill High School's mountain bike team was out there doing trail work with a couple of the OC Parks volunteers. My friend Dave was out there helping out. He's the guy who replaces the flag at the top of Robert's Roost area. So thanks to everyone who does a lot of the volunteer work out there.
Seriously. Thanks to everyone who does trail work.
For sure.
And who looks out for trails.
Yeah. Where else can we sign up, maybe? Other avenues, resources to look?
Join the OCMTBA Facebook group, or they have a trail work group.
Oh, on
so
Facebook.
Join their Facebook trail work group.
Got it.
And then you can just keep track of all the local events.
Yeah, that's great.
And then, too, if anyone out there is organizing a trail work day and it's sanctioned by a recognized sanctioning body and you want us to promote it, send us the info and we'd be glad to talk about it on the podcast and try to help you rally some trail workers. And usually we need probably minimum around 3 weeks notice, because the podcast we record it every other week and then it goes up a week after we record it.
Yep.
So some notice would be helpful with that, but we'd be stoked to help get the word out on trail work days.
Great.
Anywhere in the country.
Where should we send that information?
You can send that information to support@thepathbikeshop.com.
Support@thepathbikeshop.com. Maybe we could put some of this on the website.
Yes.
That'd be great. Yeah, this is great. And now this time of year, especially here in Southern California, is a great time to get out and do trail work.
Yeah. And there's two kinds of trail work. There's the digging and sculpting kind, and there's the brushing and cutting back brush.
Yep.
The digging and sculpting kind is usually, I think, most people's trail work fantasy.
Right.
And
now's the time.
Is kind of the less fun, usually in a hotter time of the year.
Yeah.
Less glorified. You don't get to put up pictures on the gram of your freshly sculpted berms.
Right. But it's definitely necessary. Yeah. The brushing. Yeah, the brushing, opening up the sight lines on corners and what have you. Yeah, that's so amazing.
I want to thank everyone who came out to our e-bike ride last Saturday. That was a blast. It was our first ever shop e-bike ride, group ride in San Clemente.
I saw some pictures about that.
We had a wide range of riders. It was awesome. And we'll definitely do that again.
Man, that's great. Who all, how many miles and feet of gain and?
Let's see. I have that in my notes here. 13 miles. I don't know. I forget.
19 miles, 3,200 feet of climbing, something like that.
Is that what I put in the notes? That sounds right.
Yeah.
It took us a while. We really had a wide range of riders, but Mountain Bike Allen and Elise from Giant, thanks to those two for coming out and everyone else. There were it was like a mix of like a shreddy enduro ride and like a group ride of people, like just trail riders.
Right.
And there were some people who were super stoked to be there. It was awesome. It was really cool. We'll definitely be doing more of those.
That is great. And that's a great place to ride.
Yep. And we're still doing Dawn Patrol rides every other Tuesday. The next one's at 7 a.m. on February 14th. I say that the show will be out after February 14th, but it gives you a point of reference on which every other Tuesdays they are. And we're also doing every other Thursday night rides still.
Have you already started the night rides?
I believe we've had to cancel all of them lately, but they will...
Because of rain and muddy conditions.
There's one planned for tomorrow, Thursday the 9th, Black Star. So I'll tell you the description of the next one to give you just a feeling for the general vibe of the ride. Sure. This is a solid intermediate 13-mile ride with 1,800 feet of climbing. Adequate bike lights are required for this ride. So, or the next Dawn Patrol ride, these are no-drop intermediate level rides in San Diego Oaks rolling at 7 a.m.
Yeah, that Black Star single track loop sounds really interesting. What time? So those are Thursdays. Again, by the time this comes out, our this next ride will already have happened. But
you can go to our website on the top right, click on rides, and
Yep.
see what rides we have coming up.
yeah, that Black Star single track is a lot of fun. Black Star at night is a lot. Black Star in the dark is a lot of fun.
It's just a little bit scary, just enough to make it fun.
Yep, that's kind of what I like about it. And that single track at night, I've never been on it. That seems like an actual, maybe a little heightened scariness.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a Rocky demo day coming up.
Yeah, I saw that.
And we did something different this time. We've never done this before. We got a permit with the city of San Clemente, and we're doing it at the trailhead.
Ooh, cool.
Usually we do our demos at the shop and let people take them
Right.
to trails.
Right.
So that's going to be fun. I think we're going to do a group ride that day, February 26th from 9 to 3 at San Clemente at the dog park. The Richard Steed Memorial Park. I think of it as the skate park.
Got it. So if you're heading up towards the dog park, that trailhead is going to be on the right hand side just before you get to the dog park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably I guess it'll be in that parking lot. Will be the staging area.
Yep. And they're going to be e-bikes and muscle bikes.
Oh, awesome. Oh, go try some Rocky e-bikes.
I hear they have high power output compared to everyone else.
Yeah, isn't that like a 95? Like it's decently more, I think.
Yeah. And in the future, I'm starting to hone in more too on wattage output, I guess.
Okay,
I'm going
got
to
it.
get my head straight on this.
Newton
But
meters, wattage, whatever, right?
I think it's kind of analogous to like you have torque and then you have something more like horsepower.
Right.
So
I would have to study up on that as well.
this is something that has started to enter into the periphery of my consciousness.
All right.
So,
Maybe you could have some.
and it's because people are talking about the Bosch motor having the same 85 newton meters as everyone else, but having more power.
Oh, interesting. Huh. I'll have to do some homework off podcast.
Did your
chats
Bosch feel more powerful than other 85 newton meter motors?
I don't know. Once you're kind of in that range, it all feels pretty dang powerful. It'd be interesting riding with other people on different motors, with similar bike builds to see, and in similar shape to see like what's happening. You know, as far as dropping people or not dropping people, or
It's anecdotal evidence from people having experiences like that is part of the discussion I was
that the Bosch pulls
hearing.
away. Interesting.
We also have a pivot demo day coming up. I don't have a date for you handy, but it's after the Rocky Mountain demo day.
Oh,
I might have that coming here.
any shuttle SLs in the?
I bet you there are. I hope so. I bet you. I would almost go out on a limb and just say there will be, because at the last pivot demo day, the demo driver thought he might have them by that demo, and they got here just a little bit too late for that to happen.
Right. Are the shuttle SLs, are those 150 or 157 rear spacing?
Super
Boost
boost.
plus?
I believe
Super
those are super boost.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So I can't bring my own 27.5 rear wheel. If it's a super boost, I can.
Yeah, maybe borrow Jesse's from his shuttle SL.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe I should just go riding with Jesse and swap bikes.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We had Luke in the shop the other day from Rigged.
Oh, right.
Rigged, yeah.
I think.
Overlanding Supply Awesomeness and now bike racks.
Yep.
That bike rack looks cool.
Oh my gosh, that does. Some of the abuse they put that through.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, Zach jumped up on his. I'm sure they do worse.
Right.
Luke has brush guards on his bike,
Oh, okay.
and I was admiring him, and we're talking about him, and he told me that the best thing about him is that they're inner bar ends.
Inner bar. Oh.
So he rests his hands on him when he's like stretching out for a long kind of sustained power output, but not like a steep climb, like tri-bike style
Right.
or bar end style.
Bar ends.
Inner bar ends. And I bet too, because that's a fairly wide bar, I bet it's where the bar ends would have been on like an old school 22 inch bar, 23 inch bar, roughly.
Yeah. He has brush guards on his regular bike?
I think on his tramps.
Wow.
I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe just for the season.
Yeah, that's right.
It's kind of brush season.
Yeah.
I definitely put my
Brush
hands
season.
in the grass. It's pretty rewarding to be able to get your hands into the grass
bushes
in a
and-
turn. You know, the grass is tall enough for that
exactly.
right now
That's true. That's true.
in San Clemente.
Oh my gosh, that's I might have to try that.
Brush guards.
Brush guards for not because I drag my hands a lot, but for the inner bar end phenomenon. I think you guys have some even.
We have the Acerbis in stock, and someone else now too. Someone else joined that game, and we have 2 options.
Right. Because now that I've been riding my push bike a little more, I do find bar ends. I do find myself thinking about bar ends.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I kind of just put my wrists on the bars as if there were bar ends there.
Yeah. Or hang my hands kind of sideways
Yeah.
off the.
Yep. The outsides of my wrists.
Yeah.
Same thing. I think we're describing.
Yeah. I think so.
Have you seen any spy shots of the new AXS stuff from SRAM?
I have.
Pretty cool looking.
That is.
I saw the one where it shows the profile of the current AXS and the profile
I
of the
did
new
not see
AXS
that.
and how much lower profile it is.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Like it looks like you would hit less rocks with it.
Right. I will say even the old AXS, when you do hit rocks with it, it's pretty durable.
It's very tough.
It's very tough.
What on a normal derailleur would kind of be like the B knuckle assembly or something,
Right.
is very, very sturdy.
Right.
And then the rest breaks away
Right.
on a hit. It just gives.
It gives, and then you need to reset it to.
Do you?
I think so. I think if you hit it hard enough, it stops, kind of stops working for a moment.
Huh. Gets a little concussion.
Gets a little concussion, mental reset. But yeah, that. Any idea on when the new Axis will come in? AXS?
I'm guessing June-ish. I think that's a lot of times when the industry releases stuff.
Got it.
And based on kind of like delivery dates for certain bikes that probably have that, and kind of what certain vendors seem motivated to sell and stuff. It's just kind of the read I get.
Right.
Yeah. Probably
Right.
June-ish.
Cool. Talking of electrical stuff, transition relay.
I think that thing's rad. There's some debate in the store, like where does it fit? Why
Why a long travel, reduced power?
I guess that's the question. Brian and I were trying to, I feel like I almost entered into like a bit of, I was trying to understand Brian, our buyer's mindset about this. He doesn't quite see where this bike fits in. And I'm so excited about it. I'm trying to understand his perspective.
See,
But
go ahead.
I'm not saying he's wrong, and I think there is a lot to be debated, including the whole idea of the removable motor and battery, and then using it as an analog bike.
Yep.
I don't know what to think of that. I don't know if people are going to take to that. I don't know if it's a good idea. I just don't know what to think.
Maybe it's like a road trip bike.
I can imagine that it could be a good thing. I also just don't know if people are going to like that and do that. And I just have a hard time understanding if it's who does that and when. But it has the weight and the geo are super compelling to me.
Yeah, isn't it supposed to be like 42 or pounds, 44 pounds, something like that?
I think in the very lightest configurations, maybe. I think there's speculation that the ones a lot of us will be riding around will be 46 to 48 pounds.
Got it.
And Brian's point is like if it's 48 pounds, you can have a lot of full power e-bikes at 50.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Right.
My thing is, let's just say that's true apples for apples. 2 pounds is still a lot in the world of 50 pound, even 50 pound bikes, in my opinion. And even if all I'm doing is getting a really good a bike that descends and rides how I want,
Yeah.
and giving up 25 or 20 newton meters of torque for that,
Right.
and giving up maybe 30 or 40% of range, But there's a range extender.
I'm sorry.
I'm pretty sure there's a range extender that you can get for Fazua. So the range thing, you can kind of buy it back and then only carry around the extra weight when you want. More and more, I'm thinking maybe the thing to do is to have a small-ish battery with a range extender, because probably 80 to 90% of rides, you don't need more than 400 or so watt hours of battery.
I agree with that.
And so why do you want to carry around the extra weight?
Right. Yeah. And with the smaller motor battery configuration, the quote unquote apples to apples, that bike's always going to be lighter, because it's going to, as compared to full power,
right?
That has a 600 or 700 watt hour battery,
right?
And it's probably going to be a couple more pounds, more than a couple pounds. You're probably 4 or 5 pounds.
For what? For what?
Like a full, same build, except on a full power.
Just the battery difference?
Yeah.
We were trying to figure this out, and we found different examples from different batteries and brands as far as
weights,
wattages and weights, and so one of the things is that as the batteries get lighter, the weight penalty for extra wattage gets less.
That is true, and they are getting lighter.
So, but just to throw out some points of reference to get some spots on the mind map.
Sure.
I think we found out that on the giant battery, the difference between the 800 watt hour battery and the 620 or so, whatever it is about 2 pounds.
Whoa. Okay. So it really may just be a couple.
So it's
pounds.
Maybe about a pound per 100 watt hours, give or take.
Right.
Depending on the battery technology.
I wonder if the relay frame is lighter.
And that also sounds about right now that I think about it. I think probably I think it's a little bit more than a pound per watt per 100 watt hours. Because if you think about it, a lot of the batteries are probably between 6 and 10 pounds.
Right.
And
sure.
And they're that's about that. Maybe a pound and a quarter, a pound to a pound and a half per 100 watt hours. Maybe, just real roughly.
Yep. So I could see somebody having that bike truly be a one bike.
The one e-bike.
The one, and even just the one bike.
Okay, so here's where that gets problematic. You get out on a ride like the one I was on with our group ride. On that particular ride, it would be okay because we had shuttle SLs on that ride, and we had a wide range of rider sizes and weights and experience levels and everything.
Right.
But if it had been just Mountain Bike Alan and Elise and Jeff and Don, you wouldn't have wanted to be out there with less than 85 Newton meters.
Right, because
you would have been getting dropped on the climbs, and they would have been waiting for you and stuff.
You're full boosting the whole time,
and they're good riders, and some of them are 130 pounds. And
right. Yeah, I think I agree on that.
So I still think there's a place in the world for the full power e-bike for anyone who's got a state. And there's another topic of conversation that's been coming up in the store. People are like, which e-bike, do I need this or do I need this? It's how many, I know these customers. I'm like, well, you have a quiver of bikes, right?
Why not?
Now that you're riding e-bikes, you're going to end up with a quiver of e-bikes. Just, if you're a quiver person, you're a quiver person. I don't see that. I think that might be part of the kind of, I can see how thinking that this is the quiver killer leads to it has no place because it's not maybe the quiver killer.
Right.
And maybe it's the 30 bike even because I do think there's a place for the just to pick a brand that I think is doing well in the category. And I think there's a place for a shuttle SL and a shuttle LT and maybe a relay. Because the relay is the one I want to ride for my riding most of the time. Right. I think.
Right.
Sickest geo, lots of travel.
Especially,
I don't need to race up the hill. It's nice to go fast, but that's 60 Newton meters is enough to where I'm never going to have that defeated feeling looking at the next ridge line.
Right. Exactly.
So it's all good unless
the relay PNW is 170 rear.
And mixed wheel size.
And that's
And
got to
coil.
be getting down to like 62 degrees, 61 and a half degrees.
And coil. Yeah. And
62 degrees, I think.
I can't wait.
That 62 degrees is sick.
So to me,
Yeah.
that
Best
kind
geo.
to me, that kind of trumps a lot of these other. So this is another thing. I think in e-bike conversations, we get caught up in e-bike. We get caught up in e-bike spec comparisons,
Yeah.
which is easy to do. Like compare this one's torque to that one's torque, and this one's weight to that one's weight, and
but
stuff.
The geo.
But when we buy bikes for geo,
Right.
and that's still true for e-bikes.
Right.
And that bike has the geo I want, I think.
I would agree with that. Would you put a downhill fork on that?
Nah, probably not.
Why not? Besides, it might not be
Because
warranted.
there's probably only room in my life for one downhill fork, and I've already got my downhill bike with Cushcore Ride Fantasy going.
Right. With an upside down fork.
One right side up, one upside down.
That's right. You could, I mean,
Maybe I need a box or a 40
what bike?
and a Dorado.
Yeah. What bike was I just looking at that had it was like an enduro bike, but it had a downhill fork on it?
The new Rain SX
Yes.
comes with a 40,
Yes.
right? I think so. Or is it a Boxer? I think it's a 40.
It's a 40.
Yep. That bike looks really good.
Oh my gosh, right?
That's the closest Giant has come to having the top tube go straight down and be on the same line as the seat stays, which is a design feature I like.
Right. Yes. But I thought I saw some spy pics or whatever of a Glory.
Oh, maybe. We do have that Rain SX in the shop.
Oh, you do?
It's kind of a cool purple and pink color.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I kind of want, a lot of the staff kind of wants it.
Can you see it around here? No. Not from where we sit.
Not at the moment.
Maybe I'll have to walk around and look at it after the Yeah, I was looking at that. Man, would you pedal that thing?
That we've had some customers that pedal around dual crown bikes.
Yeah.
If there was one to do it on, that one seems very doable because that bike without the dual crown is totally pedalable.
Right.
And then that dual crown doesn't do that much to it geometry wise.
Right.
With the travel they have.
Because I think they have it at 190 travel. That
sounds right.
So that's instead of the full 200 or whatever. But imagine if Giant releases a Glory, that might be in the conversation for a downhill bike.
I wonder if it would be mixed wheel size.
Oh man, that would be cool.
Yeah. I don't think I'm open to a 29-inch rear wheel on my downhill bike.
Yeah.
Personally.
I would agree with you on that.
So you saw that article in Brain about the industry having some hard times.
Oh my gosh, it was like a series of 3 articles. Yeah, I shouldn't even laugh, but I saw 2 or 3 articles. REI is laying off 8% of their headquarters staff.
Wow.
That's REI.
Yeah. They're still really busy when I go in their stores too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird.
But maybe
that weird that they don't feel busy maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Vista Outdoors, it's more of a holding company, but yeah, they're way off. And same with GoPro. GoPro's revenue is down 18% in Q4.
Yeah. It's rough.
It's tough times.
Yeah. And so the bike shops feel it first, and then the suppliers feel it. And the big suppliers don't really feel it till their quarterly earnings reports come out.
Right.
So we're going to see, I hate to say it, we're going to see more of this. Those of us on the front lines have been feeling this. I set out on one of my goals since about September has been, I hope I can get through this without laying anyone off. So we feel like the pain has actually sort of started to subside, and we didn't have to lay anyone off so far.
Hey.
Fingers crossed. we're hopeful that we've gotten through the hardest part of the kind of like reset of the industry and really of retail in general.
Right.
We've talked about it on the show before about our level of overstock and stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, it's tough. Our thoughts are with you to people who have lost their jobs. Luckily, the job market is still really strong, so hopefully people are able to continue to support their families and keep themselves safe and everything.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, this is all over, not just in the outdoor. Here, big tech, big tech is same. It's all over.
And I like to pay some respect to the seriousness of the situation. Sure. Because
I agree.
We live in a situation, and this isn't meant to be a commentary on any political thing or anything. This is kind of just outside of politics. This is reality, right? We live in a world where you have to feed yourself and provide for yourself, and
right.
employment to be unemployed is a safety issue.
Yeah.
So it's serious.
I agree. So yeah, we send our best to folks who find themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of glad you guys made it through, or
well,
are
not
making,
through yet.
I should say, are making it through.
I feel like we might be in a good spot to like turn the corner soon, kind of thing.
Right. But are you? I was looking at here in the notes. Small repair-oriented shop or mobile mechanic.
Yeah, I'm toying with this idea, and if someone wants to kind of beta test it with me, I'd be interested in talking to someone. I kind of like the idea of having it's kind of a two ideas really. One idea is I'd like to find some pathletes that are in riding locations not SoCal, who really love the path and who get the shop and who can run our gear and spread the word about the path in their local area.
Right.
So we're kind of toying with that idea and trying to figure out how to find the right people. But if you think you're the right person, feel free to hit me up on Instagram or whatever, Tani Walling. So there's that. And there's nothing officially to join yet, but more a conversation to join, and maybe a chance to be a trial basis or something.
What are some of the skill sets or kind of spaces that these people might be involved with?
Big smile, stoked for the sport, and true believer in the path.
I think there might be some of those out there.
If you give back to the community, that's great.
Right.
If you live some sort of ride fantasy that others can vicariously enjoy through you, that's great. If you're a competitor that can represent us at events, that's great.
Right.
If you have a lifestyle that you share on social media and you want to feature the path through your passion for the path and your lifestyle and everything, that might work. Main thing, big smile, stoked on riding, true believer in the path.
Awesome. So Tani at thepathbikeshop.com.
Yep. I would say Maxwell's our model pathlete.
Yeah.
Right? Maxwell, his main contributions are trail work.
Yep.
He does race. He usually isn't towards the podium at any given race, and he's fine with that.
Right.
But all the love in the world in his heart. Super generous and kind. Super stoked.
Yeah.
And loves the path.
Right.
So that's it.
And he's not local anymore.
That's right.
That's unfortunate. Maybe
well,
not.
but also he is still. I mean, he's kind of maybe a good example of someone who's just kind of by default this. But we're also looking to make new friends in areas that
outside of the Southern California area.
Yep.
Yeah,
so and also, if you're a mobile mechanic or have a small repair shop, there might be an opportunity for us to work together. In terms of us compensating you for doing post-sale service on bikes that we sell into your area, and or even being a delivery point for bikes.
Right. So this is also not necessarily right here in Orange County, LA area.
So if, let's say, for example, we seem to be shipping a fair amount of bikes. Let's say we start ending up having a decent-sized following in Bentonville. Sure. Maybe we have 20 to 50 riders in Bentonville who are diehard Path customers.
Right.
and we're sell, and it's like, we want to be able to do our post-sale tune-ups there. So who would we work with?
Right.
And I think if you have a shop that's mostly repair or a mobile repair shop, that probably makes a lot of sense because we're not taking sales from you.
Yeah.
Per se.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, this is great. And it kind of fits with, I know we've kind of talked about this on the shop talked about this on the show about taking the Path brand more on the national level.
So what we're running into is sometimes in the course of doing customer service on bikes that we've shipped places, one of the things we're doing is we're finding repair people, qualifying them to do the job, setting them up to be ready for, like, getting them to agree to do the job, and then sending the customer there, right? So this might be getting ahead of that a little bit in some areas. Right. And maybe and I guess part of the idea too is that this person would also be the first thing. Right. Whatever shop or whatever, like, say, repair shop or mobile mechanic who does this would have to be willing to sort of join the Path family and sort of become a sales rep for the Path too. But there'd be money in it. Right.
Man, that's great. Who should we get in touch with? You?
Email Tani at thepathbikeshop.com.
Right. Or reach out on Instagram, Tani Walling. Yeah, totally. No, that's fantastic.
And this is one of those things I really don't know how far. It's more an idea than a plan, but it's the kind of idea that with the right conversation, it could become a plan real fast with the right person, and to start and try it with someone,
Right. Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's a relocated Pathlete that exists out there already.
There are a lot of those.
I don't know if this is totally related. It's definitely not related to the Path, but any news on, like, Kitsuma?
I heard a rumor, and I think you're ahead of me on this. I heard a rumor that there was a Kitsuma employee who's trying to relaunch Kitsuma, and that they're starting in SoCal.
Yeah, and I don't know if I think what I read, and this is in Brain, what I read is it's actually a separate company.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kitsuma may actually be starting back up sometime, right? But this is West Coast.
For now.
Yeah, but kind of starting. There's an article in Brain, former supervisor in Kitsuma is starting up a bike delivery service here on the West Coast.
So I'm pumped about that. If someone else didn't do it soon, I was going to try to find a partnership group to make it happen.
Yep.
And to that point, if this person wants to reach out, we're probably for sure a client, and maybe we could talk about more stuff.
So Augustin Gonzalez, if you're out there,
shout out Augustin.
Shout out Augustin, the former.
We want to talk to you. If you know Augustin.
Anyways, yeah, that sounds like a good 3K to go.
That's what it's called.
That's what it's called. 3K to go.
What does that stand? Like, do you know the origin name?
I don't know
origin story of that name.
3K, 3,000 to go. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, cool. If we talk to Augustin, we can chat with him about that.
I had another funny moment in the shop. Rough transition here, but I'm going for it.
Go for it.
Another funny moment in the shop the other day that I feel like it just really embodies the history of the Path. Like I've had basically this experience so many times.
Right.
And talking to a man, his wife is there with him. He's shopping for a bike, and he very sheepishly admits that he has a spreadsheet going. And his wife immediately rolls her eyes. Right. Yeah. But this guy's got this spreadsheet, and it's head angles, it's seat angles, it's weights, it's reaches,
travel.
And the staff is kind of like trying to tell him what bike he wants, not in a bad way.
Right.
But like I think they're underestimating his self-education a little bit.
Right.
And they don't know about his spreadsheet. Like I kind of overheard.
Right. Oh no.
And I've looked at a lot of these spreadsheets. I think you've shown me some.
Yeah, I had a spreadsheet.
So certain people, when they shop for something, they make a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I am sometimes in that group.
I am sometimes in that group too.
And if it's a big purchase, I'm more likely to be in that
agree.
group.
I am.
Especially if there's a lot of kind of factors and features.
Yeah, for sure.
So I really like these people. To me, these are people who have done my homework for me. Right?
Yeah.
So now that I know about his spreadsheet, I'm like, well, what is it that you're looking like? What is it that you really, what's the combination that you're having a hard time finding, you know? And he's like, well, he tells me, he's like, you know, all the bikes that have the head angle and other features that I want, the extra large isn't a long enough reach. Classic spreadsheet problem. Classic path conversation, right?
Yes.
Now we have a specific problem to solve.
Right.
Something we can do.
Right. Because there are things that can help
now
us.
It's like, hey, I need a bike with slacker that's 64.5 head angle.
Yep.
And I want to say it was greater than 620 on the reach. Does that sound right for an extra large? Something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
It was whatever it was. It was like bigger than. It had to be more like a transition or something kind of long.
Right. Mondraker.
And I can't remember. I don't know if he even ended up buying a bike that day.
Right.
But to me, the whole world of helping him got so much smaller.
Right.
And he, I think, felt a lot more helped. But he was embarrassed to tell us about spreadsheet because he gets berated for it, right?
His wife, probably his friends too.
So
sometimes in this space,
probably some of his friends do give him a hard time, and probably those are the same people to go to him for help when they have a difficult problem to solve.
You know, people put those things down because trying to bring themselves up by putting others down in something that they know that they're a little bit jealous of.
It's funny how that can work. Or just how shameless people can be about asking for help
after they've put it down.
Or maybe they just don't realize that they're drawing on the superpower that's created from the thing they've ribbed someone for.
Yeah, exactly. Did you ask him to see this spreadsheet to maybe help the conversation?
Not so much. What I wanted to do was know what was challenging for him about his spreadsheet.
Right.
Like where was
when you look at your spreadsheet, you're obviously making these trade-offs and comparisons.
And there's all these bikes we've shown you that are clearly not options for you.
Right.
And what points are they not hitting?
Right.
And he's like, well, it has to be this head angle and this reach. I was like, oh,
thank you.
And then, there's a lot of other things on the spreadsheet that matter, but those were the sticking points, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I call those your life's priority list. And in his head, he was like stacking these things up. And so you're trying to figure out what are at the top of your life's priority list, head angle and reach.
Well, I don't know if that's so. You know what that was, I think, is more what's hard to find.
Yeah.
Because the other things on his list, almost everyone had them.
Right.
Or, I mean, the other columns on his spreadsheet, almost everyone was checking the boxes he needed checked.
Right. Yeah.
Those were the boxes that were hard to check.
Right. Wow.
Harder to check. I think we did check them. I don't remember.
I'd be interested to see if that individual ends up buying a bike here. I would love to see like new bike day for customer X.
But I'm toying around with this new slogan for the shop.
Yeah.
And it's there's a few versions of it, but the idea is that we're everyone's bike shop, wherever you live, whoever you are, that kind of thing. And want to know if you're a spreadsheet person, if you're a spreadsheet shopper,
right,
you're safe here.
This is your
we're everyone's bike shop,
right?
But not only that, that's in our DNA,
right?
In fact, I would say we sort of built this shop on being able to meet those people's needs and make them safe, and match their level of curiosity.
Right.
And so bring us your spreadsheets. We'll figure it out. I like it. I don't have to like cover up my eye roll. I'm actually stoked to see a spreadsheet.
I am stoked to know that other people have those types of, I know other people have those spreadsheets.
A lot of times they're engineers.
Yeah, exactly. That's the narrative I tell
not
myself.
always.
Even if it doesn't exist, I would tell myself that.
Or maybe they have a friend that's an engineer that they've like drawn on for influence.
Right. Oh gosh, that is great. See, honey, and it's okay that you roll your eyes at me, honey.
I didn't try to do any like marriage counseling or tell the wife like, hey, have you ever thought about like the part of him that needs that spreadsheet and like how it's probably there's things about that you like. I didn't get into that.
Right. Okay. That's probably good.
Probably would have lost the sale on that one.
Probably wise.
The closest I ever get to that is I'll tell a dude to hold his wife's purse when she rides a bike. Be like, hey man, hold her purse.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That is great. Spreadsheets, and I actually do think about updating my spreadsheet or making a new spreadsheet.
Well, you have had an ongoing spreadsheet.
Yeah, it was growing. It was just as
we should post your spreadsheet. If maybe that's an invasion of privacy. Maybe it's too much.
Oh, it's way outdated though.
No, but still, it's like a historic.
It could be at a certain point in time.
Yeah,
yeah, because I was keeping it updated for a while.
Like all the bikes you had and all the bikes you shopped for, kind of thing.
Yeah. Bikes that interested me that I read about and I kind of looked at and I put it.
Do you remember what columns you had? Like what headings you had?
I mean, all of these things. Yeah, these are all.
Did you have anything other than reach, head angle, seat tube angle, weight, seat chainstay length, bottom bracket height?
See, a lot of times they were bottom bracket drop.
Travel,
yes. Travel. I had travel.
Tire clearance. Some people have tire clearance. Some people have standover height.
I didn't have.
Some people have stack.
Oh yeah, I didn't
or
have that.
AKA head tube length.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I did do a calculated bottom bracket height based on the drop that was listed.
Nice.
So a little bit of formula going on in there. The chainstay, I would add a chainstay length and almost a comment field about whether the chainstay lengths are different for different sizes. Because mine, I always put mine in medium.
Did you have anything about components on your spreadsheet, like stems and cranks? And
no, I didn't. This was more just the frame geometry. Although,
did you have bike weights and frame weights?
No,
just bike weights.
I don't even know if I had
no
bike weights. Maybe I didn't have weights. Rear travel, head angle based on a front travel is assumed front travel.
Yeah.
So,
the one that I mentioned, standover, it's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because I'll take as much as I can get, but I usually won't say no to a bike because it doesn't have enough standover. I will say no to a bike because it has a combination of too long of a seat tube and too high of a bottom bracket.
Yep.
Because I can't get the seat low enough.
Right.
And I love having a lot of standover, mainly for clearance on my knees in turns.
Yeah.
When I'm like flat turns where you have to separate from the bike.
Right.
You kind of want to drape your knee over the
Yep.
top tube.
Yep.
And also just for not getting the top tube. Like, when your bike is like slightly leaned over and then you hit a bump and then it smacks the back of your thigh.
Yep. Yeah.
Like for that. But, a lot of people still are sizing bikes. The picture on bike boxes and on manuals where the person is standing over the bike and there's a measurement of the standover.
Yeah.
And that used to be considered a proper way to size a bike.
Yep, I remember that.
And I still have customers kind of sold on that's the way to size a bike. And it can be really problematic because, for one thing, a lot of the modern bikes all have the same standover regardless of the size.
Right.
The top tubes the seat tower mast is constructed taller in different ways.
Yep.
But
with the top bracing and
on most modern bikes, they have roughly the same standover on all of them. And then also, let's say, for example, you're buying a gravel bike and you want to do some touring and you want room for a frame bag and a lot of water bottles.
You
might have to give up some standover clearance if you're not real tall, or you want a lot of travel. And you want a big enduro bike or a downhill bike with a lot of travel, might cost you some standover clearance.
Right.
So, something to think about.
Yeah, I agree.
The idea that more is better, I'm 100% on board with when it comes to standover. The idea that you could put standover on your spreadsheet and have it be a spot on your mind map of which bike to buy, I'm 100% for.
Yep. But maybe it's
the
not,
idea that that's how you pick which size to buy after you've picked the right bike.
Right.
Please don't.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah, in my thought process, that rarely enters the thought process these days.
Yeah, we've had a couple customers where it took a little extra time to make them believe this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it's on my mind.
Right.
Maybe some people will hear it here and not need the convincing later.
Or at least start thinking a little bit more about before they come.
To that point, though, this was one of the examples of this was a customer who was not local. They ended up keeping the bike after coming to terms with what I just went through. It took a week or two of they were going to return the bike. They weren't. One of the things I did, though, is I did some research and found a local bike fitter to recommend to them.
All right.
Because I don't think a lot of people are really equipped to assess if a bike fitter is qualified.
Right.
But I think, if you're a bike fitter, you are. You can probably tell who's a qualified bike fitter. So it's pretty easy to do. I think I found a good one in their area, one that looks like they really know what they're doing.
Right.
Hopefully that helped. But there's the kind of services we're providing to our customers all over, too.
Yeah, not even,
Trying to keep them stoked on their bike.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the bike fit, we can talk, more on another show, but I think that bike fitting is a big part, is a undervalued aspect of the mountain biking experience.
What do you think about not calling it bike fitting for mountain biking?
Sure.
What do you think about like a setup session or something like that?
Yeah.
Because so much of it is suspension and control setup, which is sort of part of a fit process, but it's not what people necessarily think of when they think of a fit.
Bike fit. Right, sure.
And then I think that a lot of really smart people have convinced everyone that mountain bikers don't need fit, so we just have to call it something else so they can see they need it. Because there's this whole narrative going that mountain bikers don't need fits, and people whose opinions I really respect think that. I don't respect their opinions on this topic.
Yeah.
Or I respect their opinion, but I disagree passionately.
Right.
And I think that maybe I know more than they do on this topic, because maybe after having helped people with their setups and having them thank you and tell you why it's good, it's hard to have someone else tell you that it didn't do anyone any good.
Right.
So
I think about mountain bike setup all the time.
Right. And I think that's the other thing is a lot of these really smart people are obsessed with their own setup and know that other people can't hang with them on these topics. So how can they think that?
Right. And they're probably, they're obsessed about it, and they realize that getting these things right helps their performance.
And they realize that they're better equipped to get these things right than most people.
And how
some of the people we're talking
I don't
about.
know why they would think that that's not important.
It's one of those narratives that just caught on.
Even for those people who should know better.
And you know what I think it is, in all honesty, is it's a lot of work to get a fit program off the ground. And it's kind of a little bit for mountain. It's kind of uncharted territory a little bit, somewhat, although it's not.
Right.
But when it is in the sense that when it comes to modern enduro bikes, some of the conventional fitting techniques having to do with knee over pedal don't really apply because the seat angles got so steep.
Right.
And I think that bodies of knowledge adapt and change all the time. And to say like, hey, well, we used to establish your knee over pedal with a plumb bob and place you to where the end of your femur was over your pedal spindle. And now we can't do that because seat angles got so steep. I don't think the answer is bike fit's not valid anymore.
Yeah.
That
was a metric for
when we stopped
fit.
using leeches in medicine, we didn't decide medicine wasn't valid anymore. Right? This is a progression of bike fit. This isn't a devalue. This isn't debunking of bike fit. This is bike fit progressing.
Right.
So, and to that point, I'm fairly confident just talking about how I handle that, and I will. I think these days what you do is you put the saddle under where the rider goes to make power, and you use the plumb bob to understand what the rider's doing, mostly, and you use the old goal as a point on as a reference point, not as a goal.
Right.
And you use it, and the way in which I use it as a reference point is that, roughly speaking, average height riders are going to be about 20 millimeters in front of that reference point these days. Taller riders are going to be a little different. Shorter riders are going to be a little different. But roughly speaking, people are just in front of that reference point now.
Right. Steeper seat angle brings them a little bit more forward.
And with longer reaches, and in some cases different lower bar positions, the rider has rotated forward. They're in the same position around the bottom bracket. They're just a different clocking around the bottom bracket.
Yep.
This is a concept all tri-fitters understand.
Sure.
This is a big concept in tri-fit.
Yep, for sure.
So in fact, fitters who were doing tri-fit already knew you could do this, and it's not news.
Right.
But reaches had anyway. So
yeah.
So there's that is just somewhere, maybe give or take an inch in front of the old reference point is another reference point. That's also not a destination. It's just a reference point.
Right.
But if I move your seat back and the plumb bob stays in the same spot, that's also information.
Sure.
What that tells me is you want to be where you don't want to move back. So I should just put the saddle underneath you. Right.
And that's okay.
That's good. You know where you make power. In fact, I try to get you to pedal pretty hard when I do this.
Right.
Because if you pedal hard enough, you'll go to the spot where you make the power.
Yeah.
So that's and I'm not saying this is the end of this is how you handle the fact that seat angles got steeper. This is some of the approaches I've used in my bike fits to adapt to the fact that seat angles are steeper. I think I'd love to hear from some other bike fitters about how they've adapted to that and done this.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people who are having this conversation. It seems like most people would rather just say, yeah, mountain bikers don't need a bike fit. And in a way, I think it's kind of a cop-out.
Maybe we find another bike fitter to come on the show.
That'd be cool. Open invitation to people to invite themselves.
Yeah. Not saying that.
And maybe you'll end up helping me relaunch our bike fit program under a new name.
Setup. Mountain bike setup.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to hear some other perspectives about people doing bike fits on enduro bikes. But there's a few things we do that I feel we're towards the leading edge of, and maybe even pioneering when it comes to bike fit on enduro and downhill bikes, including helping people establish a position in some cases for certain kinds of racers, and where when you lean the bike over, you get an alignment over the outside of your bar that you like, and that goes to reach, bar height, and bar width.
Right.
And kind of to where you're going, to where you can get your forearm basically lined up with your handlebar to hard lean in your attack position.
Right. Yeah, and that's
your outside forearm.
Yeah, and that's a lot to do with your body proportions.
Yeah, and if your bars are too narrow, it's going to be like this, and it's not, if you're too wide, it's not.
Right. It's going to be hard to get
too
there.
Too low, too high.
Yep. Yeah.
So, bike fit's I think bike fit is still kind of in its early stages as a field of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it a little bit unapproachable at times.
Crank length could also help with that.
And again, I'm not talking about road bike fit, which I think is a little bit more far down the road as a field of knowledge.
Right.
But even road bike fit is not that is not a static field. No field of knowledge is static, right? Everything evolves, everything changes. I think, from what I can see from my limited perspective.
Yeah, I would imagine.
And the fields of knowledge I'll throw out an opinion on this. The fields of knowledge that are static, someone on the outside you're right for an outsider to disrupt you. I think.
Yeah,
Is that a podcast?
I think it might be.
All right. Thanks, Auk. Thanks, Jake. Thank you, listeners. Thank you to the Path crew and all of our riders and customers. Let's all remember to love the bike we ride.